Hey everybody, welcome to the Logan Power Show. It's me, your host Calvin Logan, live here at Charleston Revival Tabernacle here in North Charleston, South Carolina. Well, I got with me a first-time guest. They have an organization that's pretty much honoring our veterans, our active duty reserve. This is somebody who is a patriot at heart, but wants to make a difference across the globe. I have the one and only Mr. Harold Murray for Honor and Remember. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Calvin, nice to meet you.
Glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Always good to have you here. Well, for this organization here, I'm gonna let him explain more in depth of how they are doing their patriotism and to making a difference and impacting not just South Carolina but across the United States. So, Mr. Harold Murray, if you can explain how Honor and Remember sort of got started and how it's impacted you and why you're doing what you do.
Sure. Okay. Well, Honor and Remember was started in 2008, but to go back to the beginning of the story, our founder's name is George Lutz, gentleman, ordinary citizen living in Virginia. His son Tony had joined the Army 2003. 2005, he was deployed to Iraq. On December 29th of 2005, Tony lost his life to an enemy sniper. So the family gets word of it, and of course they're devastated, as any family would be. And George was left kind of searching for something to hold on to, something that would tell him that the nation would remember his son, that his son didn't die in vain. And the fact was, our country just doesn't have that symbol, something that the families can hold on to. So George created it. That symbol became the Honor and Remember flag. So in talking with other families of fallen service members, he found that every family has two things in common. Aside from the fact that they've lost a loved one in service to our country, all of the families said, I don't want my loved ones lost to be in vain. I don't want their death to be in vain. And I want to know that the nation will always remember their sacrifice. Those are the two things that all the families have in common. So George Lutz founded the Honor and Remember organization to perpetually remember our nation's military fallen service members and to remember them individually by name, to honor their selfless sacrifice and remember them individually by name.
All right, amen. All right, so we know that sacrifice is something that people don't always want to do. A lot of our, as you would say, our heroes are people that may have been televised, are not celebrities, but they are celebrities. Serving is something that is not I would not say it's an actual something that it's a calling. Because when you're called to serve, the first thing you understand for yourself is a selfless act. When you think about everyone's story, say like, why did you join the military? Why did you make that choice? The first thing you can say, well, I don't know, or you have this kind of iconic moment, or that aha moment that say, man, I just want to make a difference.
Right.
And making that difference, it's all about what you can do and what you're taught. It's a brotherhood, it's a sisterhood. And serving is something that you do, and you give your life for it. And literally, you don't think about self. There's a lot of times, plenty of stories. If you could give a million Medal of Honors, there's probably a million different stories that people could actually get a Medal of Honors for what they've done. Not just maybe giving their life, or their actual service to maybe the community, things of that nature. So when you think about this flag and what it stands for, one thing you hear about patriotism, but the stories of those who have lost their lives and how it's impacted just the family as a whole, it touches home. So for those that have never been to an actual ceremony of someone actually dying, and they take the flag, they fold it, and they do all the creasing of it, and they pass it to the family member, and they give them their one knee and thank you for your service, your actual loved one's service. It touches home. So for you, how did you get involved with this program?
So this story goes back to 2013. So I want to tell you a little bit about how I've seen God's hand in my life and how I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. So 2013, I joined another organization called Patriot Guard Riders. And so shortly after that, I was like most Americans, probably, many people, Memorial Day, um, we understand what it's for, memorialize our fallen service members. But most of us in America kind of take it for granted, and we use it as a 3-day weekend, and it's a chance for picnics and barbecues and stuff like that, and all that's fine. And I was kind of the same way. I still hadn't, I understood what it was for, but I still hadn't felt that call yet to take action. So my wife and I had, went up to Wilmington, North Carolina for the 3-day weekend. Monday, we were about to drive back. So we stayed at a little place, a little bed and breakfast, something, a little mom and pop shop. And we were leaving the parking lot, and instead of turning left to go home, I turned right. And my wife said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I don't know," because I really didn't know. I had no reason to turn right out of that parking lot, but I turned right. And we went up to a stoplight, and I turned right again. And she said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I don't know." I really did not know where we were going. And about half a mile up ahead, I saw a crowd gathering on the left-hand side of the road. And I was like, "Well, what's that? What's going on there?" And as we got a little bit closer, I saw an American flag flying and realized that it's a national cemetery there in Wilmington, North Carolina. And it was just before noon, and I said, "You want to turn in?" She said, "Sure." So we turned in, we stopped, and we went on in. Their Memorial Day ceremony was about to start. And in that moment, being just a part of that, seeing that ceremony, that's what started, that was my aha moment. That's when I knew, hey, this day is more than just a 3-day weekend. We have to do something every Memorial Day. And we made a commitment at that point that every Memorial Day we were going to be at a national cemetery involved in a service, or we were going to be in some type of Memorial Day ceremony to honor our fallen service members. So that's really where it started for me about 6 years ago. So I said I was part of this other organization, Patriot Guard Riders. So each Memorial Day we'll stand and honor at one of the national cemeteries. But I stay involved with them still today. So March of last year, 2018, I fly 2 flags on my house, an American flag, and then sometimes it's a South Carolina state flag, or it's a POW flag, or some other flag, military related, or something like that. And it was time to replace my flag, so I went online to buy my flags. I selected my American flag, and then I was looking for another flag to fly. So I clicked on military flags, and I immediately saw this honor and remember flag. And I don't have a big one with me today, but this is the flag I saw, honor and remember. And I didn't need an explanation for it. It immediately resonated with me. I knew exactly what it meant. I knew the message that it was trying to say. With the gold star and the folded American flag, I knew exactly what the message was, and I said, I have to have that flag. I didn't know anything about the Honor and Remember organization. I hadn't heard of this thing called Run for the Fallen. I'll tell you about in a second. But I said, I have to have that flag. I order my flags. They come in. I'm flying them on my house, and it's great. I feel good about it. About 2 weeks later, I get a notification from the Patriot Guard Riders that there's this group called America's Run for the Fallen, and they're going to be coming through South Carolina while they run from California to Arlington National Cemetery. So they ran 6,000 miles through 19 states, 120 days, stopping each mile to call out the names of fallen service members since the War on Terror began. So this is the first time I've heard of this group. So I looked them up on Facebook. The very first thing I see, they're carrying this flag that I have flying on my house. Now, I tell you right now, it's no coincidence that I was on that site and bought that flag. It is by no mistake that a few weeks later, I get a notification that this group's coming through and they're carrying the same flag that I just bought and was flying on my house.
Wow.
So I start following on Facebook. Through the Patriot Guard Riders, we decided we have to support them some kind of way when they get to South Carolina. And so on July 18th, 2018, we met them at the state line of Georgia, South Carolina. And that's when I met George Lutz, the founder of Honor and Remember. I met some of the other national team. And George said, why don't a couple of you ride up a mile and stop. When we reach you, we're going to stop and you'll see the ceremony we've been doing for the last 4 months or 3.5 months at that time, every mile as we've crossed the country. And once they reached us, there's runners. They're actually running on the ground carrying large American flags, state flag, Honor and Remember flag. Once they reached us, they stopped, they held their flags up high, they came to attention, and they read something to the effect of, this hero marker is dedicated to all military service members who lost their lives on this date. And then they read a list of names who had died for that particular date of death that was assigned to that particular hero marker. And they rendered honors, a hand salute, and then they picked up the next hero card with the next list of names for the next hero marker, and they continued on to the next marker. And I was with our state captain at the time, and I said to him, we have to be with these people every mile that they're in the state of South Carolina. And that's what we did. We rode up 1 mile ahead of them each time for 6 days that they were in the state of South Carolina. And we stood there, we rendered honors to every name that they called out. They were gracious enough to let us participate in their ceremony, sometimes holding the flags, sometimes reading the cards. And I saw their hearts poured out on the roads of South Carolina. And I knew that this mission was bigger than any one person, any group of people, any organization. This mission was something that needed to be carried out by everybody in this country, to honor their selfless sacrifice and remember them individually by name. And that is why they read their names out loud every time they stopped. So we continued with them for every mile while they were in South Carolina. A couple of us even snuck into North Carolina because we just couldn't say goodbye to these. In a week's time, they became family.
Got it.
And these are people from all over the country, every walk of life, runners from everywhere, and just became like a close-knit family. And after 2 days in North Carolina, logistically, we just couldn't continue on with them. By that time, it was just myself and one other rider. And so we left them, but before we left, George said, "Are you coming to Arlington?" So Arlington National Cemetery is where the final destination was. That's where the final hero marker ceremony was performed. And then they were to walk 1 mile to Section 60, where most of our fallen are buried from the global war on terror, to have the closing ceremonies for America's Run for the Fallen. And what was I to say? Of course I'm going to be in Arlington. So it just worked out. My daughter's graduation was that day before in Arkansas, so we drove out there. I flew to Arlington, was able to participate in the final ceremony. And one thing I didn't mention to you, that my wife actually ran for one day when they were running between Georgetown and Myrtle Beach, and during that time she was talking to one of the people from the national organization and found out that there's no chapter of Honor and Remember in South Carolina. So after August 5th, after the ceremony was done and everybody parted ways, I went home and my wife and I had started talking about this. This can't be the end for us. This is too big, and something has to be done in South Carolina. So as weeks go by, we're talking about it. I don't know, can we do it? Is it something that we can do? Does it make sense? Do we have enough people around us that are willing to jump in this with us? And so a couple of months later, I contacted George Lutz, the founder, and I let him know that we want to go ahead and start a chapter here in South Carolina. So he was on board with it. He was hoping something like that would come out of the run in every state that they've gone through, but especially here in South Carolina. And so it took a little time to put a team together, but we put a team together, and in February of this year, we started South Carolina chapter of Honor and Remember.
All right. Well, that's fantastic, and it's good to see that you're doing some great things. And I want you all who want to get connected for what Mr. Harold Murray is doing for Honor and Remember. Hey, definitely, you want to get connected with it. We have that information that was been available while we've been speaking, so that you can get in contact with him. Know that for this particular um, organization, it's just remembering people. A lot of times, when you think about funerals, people come together that one time, but
Right.
are you coming together when people are alive? People can always remember you when you're gone and dead, um, but having that person while they're alive is a big key factor. We have people dying on a daily basis. If it's not just from disease, sickness, death, just for on the streets, we got people dying that's serving our country, and we're not really remembering those selfless sacrifices that our people are really making. And if people knew what it takes to put on a uniform, what it takes to serve, that remembrance could be greater than ever before. So, um, what is it that you want to see happen at the end of the day here in South Carolina? Because you're the South Carolina chapter president. What do you want to see happen from this organization for your life?
So here's what I want to see. South Carolina has already adopted the Honor and Remember flag as our state symbol of remembrance. That happened in 2012. There are now 26 states that have adopted this flag as their state symbol of remembrance. And now there's a bill before United States Congress to adopt the Honor and Remember flag as our national symbol of remembrance. And this is more than about just the flag. It's about what the flag represents. When a family member of a fallen service member sees this flag, it tells them that our nation remembers their sacrifice, their loved one's sacrifice and the family's sacrifice. The family doesn't need Memorial Day to remind them to honor our fallen service members. For a family of a fallen service member, every day is Memorial Day. This flag, the least that we can do for these families, and this flag is a small symbol to say thank you. When a family member sees this flag, and I've seen it personally because we present personalized flags to family members of fallen service members. When a family member receives this flag, it is such a huge impact to them. And when they see this flag flying, they know that we remember, and they know what it stands for, and it means so much to them. That's such a huge impact for them. And this organization is not just to honor those who are killed in action. We honor every service member who dies while serving or as a result of serving from any cause of death, including those who succumb to post-traumatic stress. All service members, all branches of military. So what I want to see here in South Carolina is every South Carolina military fallen service member honored. I want to see a personalized Honor and Remember flag in the hands of every family member. We provide those flags at no cost to the family. We do that from raising fundings to provide those flags. But I want to see one of these flags, personalized flag, given to every family of every South Carolina fallen service member. And I would love to see this flag flying on every business, every home, every government agency in the state of South Carolina. It's such a huge message to send to our fallen's families, and it's such a huge impact, not on South Carolina, but around the country. So if you're a South Carolina fallen service member, do you have a loved one who died while serving? Please contact me. We want to get in touch with you. We want to get a personalized flag presented to you, and we want to make you part of our family. This is not a one-time thank you. This is a perpetual recognition. We honor their selfless sacrifice and remember them individually by name.
Amen. So, ladies and gentlemen, you just heard it here, first time here at the Logan Power Show. I want you to honor and remember those that have sacrificed their lives, those that have done things that are heroes, are men and women who have taken the oath, who have accepted the call, who have made a decision to make a difference. So, That's all the time I got. I want you to remember those. If you see a service member that you see on the street in uniform, out of uniform, say they serve this country, give them a hug. You know, do something for their lives. Maybe buy their groceries. Hey, maybe want to take them out to eat. Something of that nature. You never know what a service member may be going through, what they're actually dealing with. But these are the type of things that we have to do. Is remember those that are living, remember those also who have lost their lives making that sacrifice. So that's all the time I got. My name is Calvin of the Logan Power Show, nationwide, worldwide. We love you. We'll see you soon.